On everyone, welcome back. We are looking at the Thursday night showdown picks between the New York Football Giants and the Philadelphia Eagles. These teams are a combined 2-9-1 to start the year. The NFC least gets the spotlight tonight on Thursday Night Football. So let's get into it, though. I think this game could at least be somewhat interesting from the Philadelphia side, and on the New York side, you kind of know where the production's coming from. There's not like both teams have a plethora of players that, make plays. There's very limited, very thin on both sides, so it shouldn't be too hard to kind of nail down a course. So let's get started. As always, appreciate if you guys would hit the like button on the video. Subscribe if you haven't already. If you wanted to join, you can visit the website, links in description. It was a decent week 6. If you want to check out Thrive Fantasy, their info's in the description. Just a new site to play on. And if you wanted to follow on Twitter, it's at the DFS Process, or also on Instagram, although I don't post a lot over there yet. But let's get into the video. Starting off here, which is talking about each player that I like a lot. Carson Wentz is looking like my favorite play as captain. 16-2, he's at home. He's favored by about 4 points tonight. He's looked okay the last couple weeks, even though he's throwing a lot of interceptions. At least he's shown a much higher floor than Daniel Jones. He's been running a little bit more. He has 3 rushing touchdowns on the year already, so that is a good sign for him. Or actually 4 rushing touchdowns on the year. So he's actually been looking better, even though he doesn't have that many good receivers to throw the ball to. He's kind of had a connection with Travis Fulgham the last couple weeks, and that should continue this week, even with Desean Jackson coming back, because who knows with Desean Jackson, every time he plays, he gets hurt right in the beginning, so don't have any interest really in him. But Carson Wentz is looking like my favorite captain play. Daniel Jones also looks like a fine play in the flex. It's hard to believe that through 6 weeks, he only has 3 passing touchdowns. I mean, that is hard to do. He's throwing 6 picks. He's not looking very good. He's thrown under 200 yards a lot of these games, and without Barkley, they need him to step up. The only good thing that you can see with his fantasy score and box score is that his rushing yards like 74, 45, 49 in some of these games, but really he's getting paid to throw the football, and he hasn't done a very good job of it. Nevertheless, he's in play today just because there's not that many other good options, and he at least gives you a floor unlike some of these guys. So Miles Sanders is out tonight. That is going to open up the door for a he priced up a little bit, but still Boston Scott at 8,400 is going to get a good amount of the work. You could also see Corey Clement back him up and see decent work, but I do like Boston Scott. Last year in a similar spot against the Giants, he had an absolute monster game where he had multiple touchdowns. It's a spot where he can capitalize on the added opportunity, and the production will come because he will catch passes. He will get most of the maybe not most, but at least like 10, 15 carries, and then you'll probably see Clement get like 7 to 9, depending on if they want to run the ball a lot in this game. But he can also catch passes, and definitely like him a lot more than Devonta Freeman. Fulgham is the guy you want to stack Wentz with. If you look at the snap counts last week, saw Greg Ward and Fulgham play the same amount of snaps, 81%. Then you had John Hightower play 60%. Desean Jackson is expected to be back today. He is off the injury report, but like I said, with him, who knows if he's really off the injury report because he gets hurt really early in the games. But that should probably take some playing time, almost all the playing time away from Arcega-Whiteside, who has done nothing since he was drafted in the 2nd round by the Eagles, and they passed up on DK Metcalf. But yeah, you'll probably see Ward, Fulgham, and Hightower, or Ward, Fulgham, and Desean Jackson play almost all the wide receiver snaps tonight. Evan Ingram has done nothing this year. He has 20 catches on the season in 6 games. He has not really been his fault. A lot of these spots, he just hasn't been getting a lot of the volume. 3 targets, 2 targets last 2 weeks is just unacceptable for one of the better receiving tight ends in football when he's given the opportunity. Just hasn't come this year, even though they are banged up at receiver and banged up on their offense. They should be trying to get the ball to some of their better playmakers like Ingram, and it just hasn't happened. So I'm not really interested. I'd rather go to Darius Slayton, who has been one of the few guys who has shown some sort of connection with Daniel Jones. He has all 3 of his passing touchdowns this year have gone to Darius Slayton. He has big play upside, and this Eagles defense is susceptible to big plays, especially if they are targeting Jalen Mills' side of the football. So I do like going with Slayton and pairing him with Daniel Jones. That is the preferred stack on the Giants side. Devonta Freeman looks okay. I'm not that interested in him. Just because the Eagles have a decent front seven, and I don't think that he's gonna get like 20 plus touches. He could potentially push for 20 touches. Eagles have been a little bit worse on against the rush this year, but going back off last year and years prior to that, they've had one of the better rush defenses in football, and I don't think Freeman is going to just suddenly change and suddenly rush for 100 plus yards tonight. So I'm not that interested. I'd rather go up to Slayton or go down to maybe Golden Tate, who is still cheap at 6,600. He's still getting out on the field. Just hasn't been getting a lot of opportunities, just like a lot of the players in the offense. His targets have gone down since week 3, 7, 6, 5, and 1 targets. It's just not going to cut it. But his price tag is affordable. It's 1-game slate, at least in play. Then we have Desean Jackson at 5,800. I don't know if that many people will be interested. At least his price tag is cheap enough to consider, but I don't know if he's going to just suddenly get a full workload. He has missed a lot of the season already. He has not been healthy in any of these games except for maybe week 2. But I think they probably will try to keep him a little bit limited, but he'll still probably play at least 50-60% of the snaps. So he looks okay if you wanted a big spark play. Clement is expensive enough to where I'm not that interested at 5,200. And today the Eagles are even more short-handed because Zach Ertz is out, even though Ertz has done really nothing this year. But that could open up Richard Rodgers getting more targets and definitely getting more playing time at 5K. He could play Greg Ward. And then both defenses, especially both defenses are in play tonight because both quarterbacks turn the ball over at a high clip. I'd rather go with the Eagles defense, but could play the Giants if you wanted to, but I like the Eagles defense, or I like going with both kickers because both offenses, especially the Giants offense with Daniel Jones, they have not been able to capitalize in the red zone, so that has led to already 16 field goal attempts through 6 weeks for Graham Gano, and he's a world-class kicker. He's really good. They are confident in him kicking 50-plus yarders, so I like him at just 3,600. He definitely has plenty of upside to maybe be in the optimal if he gets 4 kicks or 3 or 4 kicks, get a couple long ones. Elliott also has a big leg, but he has just 10 attempts on the season because the Eagles are a little bit better at scoring when they're inside the red zone. And then you could look at John Hightower if you needed a cheap play at $1,200. And then it kind of just dies off. So those are kind of it for me. Looking at potential bills like Carson Wentz at captain, Daniel Jones, Fulgham, Scott. I love the Eagles stack with Wentz, Fulgham, and Scott. I think it'll be tough for me not to have that in there. And then we could look at some cheap plays. Gonna have to go with one of the kicker, or probably see if we can get both kickers in here. We are short by a little bit, so we'll see if we could instead get to take Jones out and play Darius Slayton. So we have kind of more of an Eagle stack here, which could definitely work out. But you kind of do have a lot of your skill position players filled by guys with big play upside, and Slayton and Fulgham and Boston Scott, and then both kickers could have a good game tonight. So that's something to consider. You could also take a shot on John Hightower. Still going to get some snaps, even though Jackson is back tonight. And then you could go up from, if you didn't want to play Scott, you could play Daniel Jones and leave some money on the table with that. I don't think there's anybody $2,000 worth really playing. The Dion Lewis as their backup running back. Just playing time has gone down with the acquisition of Freeman. So not that interested there. We'll see if we can mix it up at captain, though. If you wanted to save some more money at captain, you could play Fulgham at captain. Play Wentz, Jones, Slayton. Or play Wentz, Slayton, or Scott, and then go with some of the kickers. It's going to be a little bit short to get both kickers in there. We'll see if we could try to even consider playing maybe Greg Ward or Richard Rodgers. Rodgers is going to get almost all the tight end snaps with no Ertz and no Goddard again. So leaves you with 2,200 left. I would like to get to one of the kickers, so Still not going to be able to going from Jones to Slayton. But we'll see what we end up with. If I really wanted to play, I would rather play Graham Gano over Elliott, just based on the volume that he usually gets. And we'll see. Maybe we could play Slayton at captain instead. Or more expensive. So Fulgham at captain. Still like Slayton, and then maybe take Scott out for Ingram. I don't love that. I really kind of like what I had originally with... I mean, I try to get Jones in there. If I can't, then I would definitely want to get Slayton in there. I think he has the most upside out of anybody else on the team. I don't see myself going super cheap at captain tonight because, I think it's a really good chance that Wentz, Jones, Slayton, or Fulgham are the highest scorers. Want to be super tricky, you could play one with Desean Jackson at captain and hope that he catches a long one. But for me, the core pieces tonight are Wentz, Fulgham, and Slayton, and then maybe Graham Gano from the Giants side kicking. So that's it for the Draftkings side. Let's go over to Fanduel. All right, over on Fanduel, no surprise, Wentz is the most expensive player at 15.5, followed by Daniel Jones. Slayton is 12.5. Fulgham looks really good again at 12K. And then they have Boston Scott super cheap. So on Fanduel, the interesting thing to do is to leave thousands of dollars on the table, potentially, because you're still getting all the players that you really kind of want, like a Wentz, a Slayton, Fulgham, even play Daniel Jones. Oh, actually, it's going to be tough to do that. But definitely want to get either Graham Gano in there, or definitely want to get Boston Scott at only 6,500. That is just insanely cheap. You can play Richard Rodgers if you want, and then that's it on the cheaper side. And then you still have 13.5 left. If you wanted to pray and hope that, Jones struggles once again, doesn't get into the end zone, they have to settle for a lot of field goals. It's not out of the realm of possibility that Graham Gano ends up scoring or outscoring Daniel Jones. That is definitely possible. Could do something like that if you wanted to leave some money on the table, or maybe try to pay up a little bit if you're not that comfortable with it, or play Freeman, hope that he gets into the end zone, and then you could go from Slayton to Jones if you like him a lot. But I really think that there's the opportunity tonight to leave some money on the table on FanDuel, and it's something that not that many people do. But Boston Scott 6,500 could be left out of some people's lineups because they're going to try to fit in the entire salary cap, which I do not think is always smart on showdown slates, because always trying to be unique, always try to give yourself the best chance of taking the solo win and filling your entire salary cap on FanDuel, especially with just 5 spots instead of 6 that you have on DraftKings, is not the best strategy. But on FanDuel, I'd say that these 4, I guess, are the best plays, and then you can kind of put in who you think you like. I probably could see Graham Gano, if you can even do the math here, how many times he's outscored Daniel Jones. Not a lot, but at least one of the game against Dallas, he put up 20, and that was way more than Jones scored in that game. Jones has fantasy scores of just 14, 8, 11, 9, 8, 19. Half the time he's not even breaking 10 fantasy points, and that's something that the kicker could definitely do. But just some food for thought over there. But that's it for the video. Hopefully, guys enjoyed. Thank you for watching, and good luck tonight.